Okay, Erev Tov, everybody. It's good to see everybody again after a couple of weeks of not being in person. Last week I had to give the shiur online. My apologies for that, but it's good to be back. Chodesh Tov, Rosh Chodesh Nisan tonight. It's a month of Geulah, and we hope and pray that the next shiur that I give is not going to be here. It's going to be in Eretz Yisrael, Bezat Hashem, with everybody together in Yerushalayim, celebrating the ultimate Geulah. We are, first of all, I want to thank Mr. Yaakov Medina, who has sponsored this week's shiur in memory of his grandmother, Hola Bat Alegria Ben Shetrit, Zichronai V'Chash. So the words of Torah, the inspiration that we get today, and the ideas that we come out with should be Lilu Nishmatat, Nafshat Zerura, Bitzror HaChaim. Amen. Whenever we get to Parashat, Tazria, and Metzorah, this year it is a separate, they are read separately, they're not combined because it is a leap year. Generally, the theme of the parashiot is tzarat. Tzarat is the skin disease, sometimes translated as leprosy, that can fall on a person's skin or on his clothing or on his house. And there are various laws with regards to the tzarat and what the person has to do when he sees such a mark on his skin. The color, it has to be assessed by a kohen. The kohen would have to declare him tameh. He has to go into isolation. There's a lot going on in these parashiot, and the ideas behind them are very deep. And to be honest, we don't really see it much nowadays. So what many do like to talk about, and it's a perfect opportunity, yes, to talk about, is what brings about the tzarat, what brings about this skin disease. And the Chachamim tell us that if a person was to see tzarat on himself or in his clothing or on his house, it is usually due to one thing and one thing only, and that is Lashon Hara, that is evil speech. And therefore, many rabbis around the world, many magidei shiur, many people that love to talk about the parasha will focus these weeks to speak about our tongue, will speak about our mouth and the words that come out of our mouth. And I'm not going to do much different today, but I'm going to take it from at a different angle. For over 2,000 years, Am Yisrael have tried to extinguish the flames of Lashon Hara, and yet the embers and the charcoal is still lit. And maybe it's time to light another fire in our hearts, and maybe to focus on Lashon Tova, on a good tongue and on good speech. This past year, in our shul, in our Bet Knesset, between Mincha and Arbit, I decided to teach Sefer Chafetz Chaim on Hilchot Lashon Hara for roughly between 10 and 15 minutes between Mincha and Arbit. Many people here in attendance, we're here almost every day to listen to these powerful words of the Chafetz Chaim, and Rabbi Yisrael Meir Kagan, known for his pen name Chafetz Chaim. And what emerged from that sefer, and we're not finished learning it, we're going to continue it Bezrat Hashem next winter, is that Lashon Hara is not just speaking negatively, but it's a negative thought process. It's a negative perspective that a person contains within him and leads to hateful speech. And a person contains negativity in his heart, negativity in his mind. And what we all concluded after learning these halachot, these multiple halachot, is that it's almost impossible not to speak Lashon Hara, because we like to speak what's on our mind, and we like to speak about, and we like to share what we're thinking about. And therefore, when a person does not produce negative thoughts, then there's no negativity to share with other people, because our minds are always active and our minds are always thinking, and we got to train ourselves to think in a more positive manner. Sur merava asetov. It's not just a matter of let go of bad, but it's also a matter of doing good. So yes, there's this concept of staying away and preventing yourselves from bad behavior, but there's, more importantly, is the final step, which is adopting a good behavior, adopting something to replace the bad behavior. If we have a negative outlook, we have to learn to let go of it, and then take control of a more positive perspective. The Chafetz Chaim begins his sefer by listing numerous averot, sins that a person would transgress every time he speaks Lashon Hara, up to 17 negative commandments every time he speaks Lashon Hara, plus an additional, I can't think it was like 7 or 8 positive commandments, and then a bunch of curses that a person would be transgressing. And then he builds a strong case, for people to almost be ignored and removed out of the community because of their distaste and towards chachamim and towards rabbis, and everything that comes out of them is just words of Lashon Hara. They're called Baalei Lashon Hara. He actually gives a metaphor at the beginning of the Sefer, which we learn to help realize the importance of keeping our tongue free of evil. And he talks about, imagine a king who has this artisan, and this artisan is asked to produce, using his skill and his wisdom, some beautiful design, whether it is a piece of clothing or an article of jewelry or whatnot. And the king knows there's no one better in the world to do it than this man, this artisan. Yet with all this, the abilities that this guy has, if the tool that he uses is broken or is blunt, then he can create nothing of value. He can create nothing of beauty. And therefore, says the Chafetz Chaim, the primary tool of the Jew is his tongue, is his lashon. And when we employ it to learn Torah and to pray and to speak positively, then it's great. But when one speaks evil, we are blunting our tongue, and we are taking this precious tool and we are breaking it. And we can have the most passionate feelings towards Borei Olam, Master of the world, but it's not effective if our tool is blunt. And as much tefillot as we can pray, but if we finish our tefillah and we're just going to work and we are focusing on how much slander I can spread and how much motzi shemra and lies or whatever it is, then it's ineffective. It's dull. It's only when our tool is sharp and tuned does our tefillot can reach HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And similarly for the person who speaks, not just for the person who speaks, but the person who receives, who listens to Lashon Hara. Chafetz Chaim gives multiple cases. We have to do what we can. You have to think of it like a cold. You have to think of it like someone is sick. It's spreading germs. What do I need to do to stop the germs to spread? If the germs are coming out of so and so person because he's speaking this evil speech, then I gotta get away. I gotta go. I gotta move to a different room. I gotta put earplugs. Whatever it is. I can't be around. I need to stop the contamination process. It has to be shut down immediately. So I'm going to focus on this idea of Lashon Tov today, and I'm going to start with a really tremendous chidush from the Zohar HaKadosh, which is brought down in Parashat Tazria. It's a very, very long episode brought down in the name of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who relates this, but we'll condense it. He relates that there were two Tanaim, two tzaddikim, Rabbi Chaya and Rabbi Yosef, who were riding on a donkey. And all of a sudden, they see a man coming towards him. And this man is filled with negaim. He's filled with these spots. His whole body is covered with these red and white spots on his face. Very weird, not something you normally see in a person. So Rabbi Chaya, the man comes by, he asks this man, he goes, "Who are you? Where do you come from?" And he told him, "Ani Yehudi." Told him, "I'm a Jew." So Rabbi Yosef goes to Rabbi Chaya and he says, "Chotehu." This man, he's a sinner. No question, he's a sinner. Sheim lo kach, if not so, if he wasn't, lo nirshemu panav be'elu acholaim hara'im. His face would have not been filled with all of these spots, with all of this disease. And therefore, this is not called Yisurim Shel Ahaba. This is not called affliction of love. So Rabbi Chaya hears what Rabbi Yosef told him, and he says, "You are right, 100%. Vadai, that because Yisurim Shel Ahaba, if it's affliction of love, those are things that are covered." So what's going on over here? So before we continue the story, Shlomo Melech writes in Mishlei, "Tova tochachat megula me'ahava mesutaret. Open reproof, open rebuke is better than concealed love. Because when I rebuke somebody out of love, when I reprove him out of love, I do it in private. It shows that I care. I don't want to embarrass him. That's why rebuke is a very, very difficult mitzvah to perform, because it usually has to be done private in a soft tone. I don't want to humiliate my friend or the person that I'm telling them who needs to be better. But if it's something that is done not privately, if it's done openly, then it is actually, it's enam be'ahava. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu acts the same way for us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu constantly rebukes us. He's constantly trying to get us back on the right path. So at first, if he's going to do something to us to get us to change, he's going to do it in a very soft way or a hidden way. He might put something on your goof, on your body that is not seen, or underneath your clothing, somewhere where it's not noticeable. And that's when it's concealed, it's out of love. It's out of ahava. It's a yisurin shel ahava. It's still yisurin, but it's out of love. The moment it becomes known to everybody, and now you are embarrassed of it, and now it's something that you cannot hide anymore, then it's no longer yisurin shel ahava. It's just yisurin. It's just affliction. It's just suffering. And therefore, when Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Chia saw this man, and it's all over his face, and it's all over his body, the first thing they said, this is not yisurin shel ahava. If it was yisurin shel ahava, it would be something underneath his clothing, or something that we cannot see. Now, this Jew heard what these rabbis said, and right away he took the rebuke, and he started crying, ran, and he was just in tears. He did some introspection, and the story in the Zohar concludes that they did teshuvah. However, his children happened to walk by and see their father crying. And I said, Abba, what's going on? He said, these men, they came by, they saw me, and they said that what I'm suffering is not yisurin shel ahava. See, when a person is going through difficult times, the highest level of emunah that he can have is that Hashem gave me out of love. And therefore, he feels a strong, close connection to Hashem, and not as a result of a sin. Because if it's a result of a sin, that means I did something wrong, and that's why I'm suffering. That's why I'm getting pain. But Yisurin Shel Ahava, there's a certain, like the great tzaddikim who suffered in life, Yisurin Shel Ahava. They didn't do anything wrong in their lives. Not that they're going around, chas v'shalom, stealing or eating terefat. If they suffer, it's Yisurin Shel Ahava. This man thought that what he had was Yisurin Shel Ahava, was affliction of love. And these rabbis said, no, you did something wrong because it's all over your face. So now he started crying. And the sons didn't understand. So the sons went to the Chachamim and said, you know who my father is? You don't even know who my father is. My father sits all day inside his room, and all he does is he studies Torah. Everything that he does, his whole mind is concentrated on Torah. All these, whatever sin that you think my father did, it can't be, because he's constantly in this room, he's learning, and he's involving himself in mitzvot. Impossible. So, if so, why do you automatically assume this is not Yisurin Shel Ahava? What sin could he possibly have done? Look at the answer that the Chachamim gave the children of this man. Mila tava de ka'ate lideh ve'yachil lemalela ve'la malil. He says, the rabbis told him, the signs, the spots on his face can be one thing and one thing only, which is Lashon Hara. But you're right. Your father is in the middle of a room and he's studying all day. He cannot be speaking Lashon Hara. But Milat Tava Ka'ate Le'adeh, he had good words on his tongue also. And he could have spoken good words to other people. But he didn't speak good words to other people. Why didn't he speak good words to other people? Because he was in his room all day. He had opportunities to go out and bring people's spirit up. And he didn't. And therefore, he has to suffer with this. It's a punishment. It's not a Yisurin Shel Ahava. He had a good word that came to him. He could have said it, and he didn't. And that's the meaning of the Zohar. Just like a person can be punished when speaking dibur ra, when speaking evil words, so too a person is crazy, the Zohar. A person could be punished because he chose not to speak a good word. You don't think of it that way. But that's what the Zohar is saying. I kept silent, David HaMelech says, I kept silent from good, and therefore ke'evi ne'ekar. My ke'ev was potent, was noticeable. Mavet v'chayim beyad Lashon, that Shlomo HaMelech very famously writes that death and life is in the hands of the tongue. Yesh milah tava v'yesh milah bisha. There is a good word and there is a evil word. The evil words, we know what they are. It's a lashon hara, it's a motzi shemra, it's a rechilut, it's a machloket, the argument, the fighting, the screaming, loss of control. That is mavet. That is death. But it's not just enough to be sur merah. It's not just enough to hold back and prevent yourself from speaking bad words. A person has to find the good words and share them to bring people back to do teshuvah. And maybe that's the reason why a person that becomes a metzorah, a person that God forbid is suffering from leprosy, he has to bring a korban that consists of two birds. Shte tziporim, hayot teorot, the pasuk tells us. One of the birds is shechuta, hatzipora shechuta, the one that is slaughtered is temeah, is impure. And then one bird is eventually let to go free and fly away. That's called the tzipora mushlahat. The one that's sent away, that one is tehorah, that one remains pure. What's the remes? That we have to learn from the tzipora mushlacha. One of them was bad because of the evil speech that you spoke. But then there's one bird that gets to fly away, and that bird for the rest of its life sings and chirps. And you know, it's springtime now. You're hearing the birds outside. It makes you happy, brings you joy. So too, every person has an opportunity to bring joy, to be mesamech one other person. You know, there's a lot of Gemilut Chasadim organizations out in the. You open the back of the community link. You have Gemilut Chasadim for everything. Yeah, for tablecloths, for napkins, for hockey equipment. I saw a Gemilut Chasadim for hockey equipment this week. I go, wow, this is great. Imagine there was a Gemilut Chasadim to say a nice word a day. You sign up, call this number. Okay, call this number. Once a day, you're going to say a nice word. It's not difficult to say a nice word, as long as you mean it, as long as you have the ratzon, the good ratzon to do so. One day, a man came to Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, Zecher Tzadik, B'kadosh Livracha, man with a long black coat and big black hat, and he wanted to speak to Rabbi Chaim. And he went up to Rabbi Chaim, a long line of people, and he said, Kvod Harav, they're going to kick out my son from yeshiva. And this is already the fifth yeshiva, the fifth cheder, that he's going to be kicked out. I can't take it anymore. I don't know what to do. What am I going to do with him? So Reb Chaim Kanievsky listens, and he gives the very famous Reb Chaim Kanievsky response, which was Bua. Bua was bracha ve'atzlacha. Bet vav hey. Bua. Bracha ve'atzlacha. He saw so many people. That was his bracha ve'atzlacha. So the man accepted the bracha and went on his way. One of the rabbis that was there heard this man's cry and didn't understand something. So he went and he followed him down the stairs. Okay, he got a bracha from Chaim Kanievsky, but fifth yeshiva, fifth school, your son's going to be sent out from. That's pikuach nefesh. It's danger for the son. It's mamash. Yeah, it can't. So he went up to the man, waited a few minutes. He found him alone, and he says, "Listen, I'm sorry if I'm interrupting. Maybe it's none of my business, but I heard you talking to Reb Chaim, and you mentioned that your son might be kicked out of his, yeshiva, fifth yeshiva, and I know a bracha is very important from Chaim Kanievsky, but I have a question to ask you." He says, "When was the last time you told your son that you love him?" And without any busha, this man with the long coat and the black hat, he goes up to him and he says, "B'davar shekir tirchak, I will not lie. I don't tell my son much that I love him." So the man told this guy very bluntly, he says, "Instead of them throwing your son out of the cheder, they should throw you out of wherever you belong from and take off your coat and take off your hat. If you don't find the koach within you as a father to say I love you to your son. You're the problem, not the school. Take off your coat. One word. How do you not say I love you to your son? There's once a story. The man who owned a store in Bnei Brak. Crazy story. And it was about 3 p.m. The store was kind of dying down through the day. That's it. So there wasn't many people. But there was one guy with a shopping cart talking on his Bluetooth. And he must have had like 15 conversations. Every single time he had a conversation, it seemed like he was asking for a job to be a cleaner, that he would clean buildings or clean homes or whatever it is. And every time he would call, you get call again. Hi, I'm looking for a job. I want to, I do cleaning. I'm this. I'm good at it. Da da da. No. But please, every time, and this lasted for quite a few minutes because he would keep on calling. So that the owner of the store is listening to what's going on, and he felt bad for the guy. And he says, "Listen." He finally gets to the cash. He goes, "Listen, I overheard you calling a lot of people. To be honest with you, we have some cleaners over here. They don't do such a really good job. Sometimes, they just reuse the mop. They don't clean the mop, and I got streaks. It's not good. It's not pleasant. I need to make my store presentable. Are you? I'd like to offer you a job. I'd like to offer you a position, if you're interested." So the man says, no, thank you. I really, really appreciate it. Baruch Hashem. I'm very busy from morning till night. I have daf yomi in the morning. I'm this. I can't take any more work. I'm really, really, really busy. So the store owner is scratching his head. He goes, "Listen, sorry, but I heard you now. I heard you for 45 minutes on your phone over there in the corner of my store, calling person after person after person, looking for a job that you want to clean. And you come over here, you tell me you're so busy. I don't understand. What's the story with you?" So the guy tells him, he goes, "Let me tell you something." He goes, "To me, a building is a building, a house is a house, an office is an office. And I clean that house or that office or that building with all my koach, because that's my job. But how much can a person work without positive feedback? How much can a person do without getting a thank you, even though it's my job?" So you know what I do? I call all of my employers and I change my voice, pretending that I'm somebody looking for a job, just so that they can tell me, no, it's okay. We are very happy with the person that we have. We are very happy with the person who's cleaning our business, and our office, and our building. Just so I can hear some thanks. I can hear some feedback. And this is a message to all the bosses out there, to all the teachers out there, to anybody who has a position of authority and power. How many times do you say, "You know what, good job"? As teachers, do we say great job to our students enough? Or we only criticize them when they misbehave or when they don't do their work? We love to send emails home when children are misbehaving. But do we send emails home when children are doing what they're supposed to do? Even though it's expected, but thank you. Or if you're an employer and someone just did something, wow, I didn't expect that. That was really good. You really, really went out of your way for that. Good job. If they're not Jewish, don't tell them kol hakavod. They won't understand what you're saying. But you can tell them, "Listen, that was really good work over there. That was really nice." And what that does to a person, to an employee, you know how much better they would work for you just hearing thank you. They feel that they're appreciated. That's the message of a good word. This past week, we had Rav Moshe Weinberger in town. He spoke at the Bayit last week, and he shared a story, among many stories, but he shared one story. Rav Chatzkel Abramsky, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, who lived in Beit Vagan, big Gaon, and how once he was walking on the streets, he could be walking back from the supermarket, I don't know what it was, and he sees a little girl crying on the street. And he went up to the girl. He says, "What's wrong, little girl?" She says, everyone's making fun of me. What do they do? What's going on? So she said, everyone's calling me ugly, and they're calling my dress ugly, and I can't take it. So Rav Chatzkel looks at the girl and says, what's your name? And she said, my name is Shifra. Says, Shifra, first of all, your name means beautiful, because you are the most beautiful girl in Beit Vagan, and your dress is the most beautiful dress in Beit Vagan. And I want you to go home and tell your mom and your father and all your friends that Rav Chatzkel Abramsky told you that you are the most beautiful girl and you have the most beautiful dress in Beit Vagan. And her face lit up, smiled, and she ran home with excitement. Now, let's just put this story on pause for a moment. It is not the norm for Rashi Yeshiva or big tzaddikim to stop on the street, tell a girl, whatever age, that she is beautiful and she's wearing a beautiful dress. And because of that, the students that were around Rav Chatzkel went up to him, looking at him like, what just happened? And he looked at the students and he said, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu promises, in the future, God is going to erase the tears of every Jew. If he can erase the tears of every Jew, how can I see a young girl that is crying and not clean up that tear? How can I not tell her that she's beautiful and her dress is beautiful to make her feel good? And this is from one of the great Rosh Yeshivas. How many people would do that today? How many people would stop when they see a young kid crying and say, what's going on? What's wrong? It's okay. Everything's going to be fine. You know, when kids cry, they think the world's falling on them. They think everything, that's it, the world's over. And you give them that little push to continue. And then all of a sudden, they're injected with a new dose of life and happiness. It's what he did. In a different shiur, Rav Reinberger was speaking about Yosef HaTzadik, and he says, what was the pivotal moment of Yosef's rise to greatness? What changed? What happened in Yosef's life, Yosef HaTzadik, where he went from accused jailbird to viceroy, second in command under Paro? He says it happened when he was in jail. And when he woke up one morning with his two jailmates, the baker and the butler, and they just had a dream. And this dream was bothering them, so much so that they couldn't live with themselves. Their whole day was torn. They were just so confused. They didn't understand what's happening. You have really that horrible, horrible dream, and you can't even go on with your day. And Yosef sees this on their face, and he asks them one question. Madua penechem ra'im hayom. Why is your face so sad, so down today? What's wrong with you? What's hurting you? What's bothering you? Oh, wow. Someone paid attention to us. Sure, I'll tell you what's wrong with me. This is a dream I had. Da, 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 da. And the rest is history. Yosef becomes the dream interpreter. And now he gets to Paro's palace. Had he not asked the question, had he not cared, had he not given that word of encouragement, I'm here for you, I'm listening to you, then he would have remained in the corner. Probably just studying Torah. But then you had the good word in your mouth, but you didn't use it. And because of that, he would have just stayed over there. Yosef would have remained in jail for who knows how long. Madua penechem ra'im hayom. What's wrong with you? How can I help? What's on your mind? I'm listening. And he ends up as viceroy in Egypt. Incredible. Think about it. It's a beautiful chidush for Rav Weinberger. The power of a word, the power of what it is, a milah tova. Sometimes it's important to hold back the word. Sometimes it's knowing when not to say things. We spoke about this a lot in the past. There was once a man who came to his Rav with a letter. And he said, Rabbi, you know what's written in this letter? And the rabbi says, I'm not a Navi. I'm not a prophet. I don't know what's written in the letter. He says, in this letter is curses and threats and the worst of the worst. Because what's going on? He says, unfortunately, I'm in a little machloket with another Jew. That we're dealing, it's in the tens of thousands of shekels. And he keeps on threatening me and cursing me. And this is just the third of many letters that I'm getting. And I don't know what to do with it. I told him, let's go to Beit Din. Let's go to arbitration. And the guy says, no arbitration is going to help. I'm going to force this money out of you. I'm going to show you. So on the first time I got this letter, I showed it to my wife. And she read it and she was in such shock. And I told my wife, I was so upset. I go, you know what? If he wants to play this game, I can also play this game. If he doesn't want to go to Beit Din and do this civilly, I'm going to show them that I'm going to fight too. And I'm going to threaten him. And I'm going to send nasty letters to his family. So on and so forth. His wife says, no, you can't. She said, why? Because that's not the way we were taught. We were taught that in a situation like this, it's better to be quiet. It's better to hold it and do it the right way. Don't attack. Attacking cannot lead good. It's just going to add fuel to the fire. So he says, okay, I can't argue with my teachers. I can't argue with my rabbis. This is what they told me to do. So I do. Okay, I will quiet. He said, that was on Sunday. He says, on Tuesday, you know what happened? He says, this man came back to the rabbi. He goes, Rabbi, you're not going to believe what just happened. He goes, my son was riding in the busiest intersection, his bike, the busiest intersection in Bnei Brak, when there was cars all over the road. His pants got tangled in the chain of the bike, and he flipped. And he landed in the middle of, Jabotinsky and this road, right in the middle. And all the cars slammed on the brake, and they missed him by inches. 2 days later, after I decided not to speak and not to fight. And the rabbi said, what's the chidush? You know what the Gemara says? Masechet Chulin, Amar Bila'ah. En ha'olam mitkayem ela bishvil mi shebolem et atzmo b'shat meriva. The whole world is sustained by people who swallow their words during a time of fighting, during a time of machloket. Shneimar tole eretz al belima. That the world is hanging on blima, on nothing. When you keep quiet, when you close the mouth. You know what the Hatam Sofer says? Beautiful on this pasuk. Tole eretz al belima. The gematria of tole eretz al belima is 913. The world hangs on silence. Begam bereshit. The word bereshit, which is the entire creation, is 913. And in the word bereshit, in of itself, what does bereshit stands for? All the people who chose to remain silent when they could have spoken up. Binyamin, we spoke about this a couple weeks ago. Binyamin, the son of Yaakov. Rachel, the wife of Yaakov. Esther Malka, who chose not to reveal where she came from. Shaul, who did not reveal the Dvar Melucha. Yosef, who after 17 years did not speak about who was the one who sold him. And Tamar, the wife of Yehuda, refused to reveal that it was Yehuda. And she was about to be killed for it. That's what Bereshit stands for, all those people. Beautiful. Sometimes you just got to hold it back in. In one Shabbat, there was a man who went to go visit a Hasidic Tish. Anyone ever been to a Hasidic Tish? Okay, so a Hasidic Tish is you have the Rebbe of that particular Hasidut sitting at the head and all of his followers sitting around. And it's an experience to see a Hasidic tish, and they eat the food, and the Rebbe gives out the food, and he blesses, and he gives a Divrei Torah. It's very, very holy. The man who came to the tish was a Yeki Ashkenazi Jew, like a typical Ashkenazi, not Hasidic Jew. And for him, this was his first tish. And he wanted to experience what it was. So he goes up to his friend who was a Hasid, and he says, what do I do? He goes, okay, for one, you have to bring something. He goes, what am I going to bring? So he goes, I can't bring flowers, Shabbat. So I got an idea. Because I'm going to bring a cholent. We're going to bring a cholent. So this man comes with his cholent and a little pot of cholent. And he comes to the Rebbe's tish. And he comes to the Rebbe, goes, Kvod Harav, I have here a cholent. What should I do with it? So the Rebbe says, you see over there in the back, Fishel. You see Fishel in the back, sitting over there. Give him the bowl of cholent. Give him the cholent. Now this man Fishel was misken. The guy was not 100% there. It was a guy, you could tell, one of these people, unfortunately, struggled a lot in life. Was just there eating a lot. He would love the food that was there. He came to eat, and so he said, "Okay." So he finds Fishel, and he brings him the pot of the cholent, and he puts it in front of him. And Fishel was so happy. He sees the cholent, right? Goes, the Rebbe told me to give it to you, Fishel. So I'm telling you, the smile on his face. He starts taking the spoon. He starts eating the cholent. The problem was that just like Fishel, there were other Fishels. There were other miskanim there, who, when they saw the cholent, they started coming and grabbing, taking their spoons and eating the cholent that Fishel was supposed to have for himself. And Fishel, being, I guess, who he was, hated it, couldn't take this. Get away, get away, get away. And the more he tried pushing them away, the more people started coming into the cholent and taking the cholent. So Fishel said, or he thought to himself, there's only one thing I can do. And he hurls spit, and he starts spitting into the cholent. But not just like real spit into the cholent, so much so that the people had no choice but to get out and leave now Fishel by himself with the spoon eating from the cholent. And the Jew, the Yeki Jew, the non-Hasidic Jew is watching this, and he cannot believe his eyes. He says, this is a tish. This is what happens here in a tish. How can this be? This is not a tish. This is a madhouse. There's crazy people here. What's going on here? Spitting in the food. Never seen something like this in his life. The Rebbe hears what this man said, and he says, a madhouse, a crazy house. Even from a crazy house, there's things to learn. You think that all of this brings me kavod? The Rebbe said. You think I need the cholent? Think I need all of this, what's happening? Is it a bizayon? Yeah, it's a bizayon. It's disgusting. It's an embarrassment. But you can learn something. That even when things don't go your way, even when you're watching things that you say, this cannot be, this is not me, and it drives you crazy, and it makes you upset, and it antagonizes you, and you say, I can't take this, but you can learn the midat of savlanut. You can learn the midat of patience, and understanding every single person. Learn to be quiet. Learn to be mashtik et atzmecha, to quiet yourself. That's something that you can learn even from a bet meshuga, even from this type of place. Rabotai, everything really depends on our focus. Everything depends on what is our outlook. What are we coming to achieve? If a person, or just started baseball season now, right? I believe today is the home opener of the Toronto Blue Jays. But if you come to play baseball, and every time you come up to the plate, you're always going to be thinking, I must not strike out. I must not strike out. I must not strike out. You are likely going to strike out. That's probably what is going to happen. The batter is focusing what he must not do rather than what he should do, which is hit the ball. and get on base. And for years and thousands of years, for good reason, we have been focusing on not speaking Lashon Hara. And as a result, like the batter, many, many times, right, we've struck out, we failed. So maybe the new focus has to be the good word, the Lashon Tova, not the Lashon Ra'ah. It's a state of mind. It's a way of perceiving life in a more positive way, the world in a more different way, seeing people in a good light, wanting to be there to help. It's not just preventing the negative energy from attaching itself to us and to our soul and to our mind and to our hearts, but it's allowing positive energy and making it radiate to other people. We do this constantly. We don't even realize it. But we say brachot. We say at least 100 brachot a day. That's what Shulchan Aruch says we need to do. 100 blessings a day. And all of our blessings express hoda'ah, gratitude, and they express positivity and appreciation and knowing and being there and thanking Hashem. So if I'm willing to go and thank Hashem 100 times a day at least for what he does for me and using my tongue for the good, then why can't I do that to other people? Where I'm constantly surrounded with. Of course, Hashem is all around us, but we're always around people. We are social beings. This is who we are. We are at work. We're with people. Be more open-minded when it comes to this. When we appreciate what's at stake, and we appreciate, that this is what's holding back Mashiach. The sinat chinam, the ahavat chinam, the fact that we have baseless hatred, we have to start combating that with baseless love. I'm just going to love you, and I'm going to say thank you, and I'm going to say you're beautiful, and you have a beautiful dress. You see a little girl crying. I'm not recommending every guy here to go up to ladies in shul and saying you have a beautiful dress and you're beautiful. I don't think that's appropriate and shouldn't be done. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. But even a guy to a guy, you know what? That's a nice suit. I like that tie. You look good today. Nice shoes. Nice. Okay. It makes a person feel good. Makes a person feel good. Oh, it's great to see you in shul today. I'm happy you came to Minyan. Or, Rabbi, nice, good speech, good divrei Torah. Listen, we need the encouragement as well. We work for the community. So why not give the rabbi a pat on the back? Why not say, you know what, that was really nice? Heck, we get a lot of criticism, so once in a while we can get some compliments, right? Bezrat Hashem, that's what we should work on. Lashon Tova, that's what we need to focus on. And maybe Bezrat Hashem will be zocheh to the end of this galut in the Geulah Shlema Nisan Atidin Leigael Bezrat Hashem K'ni Ratzon. Amen.